Before starting with the video, I show you my qualification chart, so you can understand the rating I'm going to give to this film. Having that said, It's Such a Beautiful Day is an independent animated film written, directed, animated, produced, and even voice acted by the animator Don Hertzfeldt, in which the life of a character named Bill is portrayed. A person who lives a monotonous and empty life with a depressing, repetitive routine that diminishes the value and meaning of absolutely everything. Yes, this sounds like something to me. This until Bill is diagnosed with a mental illness of unknown name, which causes him to have constant memory loss and consequentially loses the perspective of his own reality. It is with this premise that a character study is catalyzed, with a particular emphasis on the dilemmas, ideas, and thoughts of the protagonist, which are full of existential questions and doubts about identity, being the main conflict of the protagonist to find a meaning to his life and in what surrounds him. For a film which studies the psyche of its protagonist, it does a very good job, initially showing the great depression and emptiness that Bill feels and the frustration that this generates to him, to consequentially show his change after his diagnosis, and now present a character that, in addition to his depression and crisis, now has to deal with enormous confusion by not understanding the simplest foundations of the present and its reality, added to an extremely ingenious animation and direction, thus compensating for the lack of detailed drawings, having an authentic artistic purpose, playing with audiovisual elements to present the plot of the film through Bill's eyes, making the ambiguous forms of the world appear to represent his lack of understanding of reality, showing a lack of color to represent how sad and bleak Bill sees his life, emphasizing in the scenes the little things that Bill focuses on, and so on. But nothing I've mentioned would make sense if it weren't for the film's conclusion, where the whole sad and depressing story of Bill takes on a meaning, giving many beautiful and inspirational messages. The film places constant emphasis on the little things in life, even avoiding showing things that could be bigger, emphasizing how Bill buys fruits at the market. He waits for the bus while a man vacuums on the sidewalk, has a calendar of a manatee that he feels is watching him, and so on. Bill spends his time observing and doing all these little things, just being indifferent to them, overwhelmed by what he considers a boring routine life as the days goes on and he gets closer to his death, ignoring this fact and seeing it as a simple abstract concept that happens to others, but it is inconceivable that it happens to him. It is after his diagnosis that he realizes the mistake he has made, how death is not just an abstract and distant concept, it's real, and how he wastes his time and lets it go is real too. Bill discovers that he must do something with his life, that he must take advantage of it and take the initiative because his life is finite. However, Bill can no longer take advantage of his life. His mental illness makes it impossible for him to carry out a project of value and do what he has always wanted to do with his life. The message of taking initiative in life and taking advantage of it to do something valuable does not apply in the context of the film. Bill's mental illness prevents him from doing something like this, because as the days go by, he forgets more and more and loses the perspective of his world, even forgetting his own name. The idea of the film is not just about taking action in life, because it presents an extremely deterministic perspective, in which, you want it or not, only one result can happen. Whatever the action he takes, Bill will lose more of his memory, and whatever the action he takes, Bill will die because of his illness. Adding to this the concern that the world could be ruled by an unmovable destiny, making the initiative of taking action in life unimportant. The point of the film is that even in the hypothetical case that our actions didn't matter, that everything was predestined to happen, and all things were irremediable, one could still have the possibility of being happy, because you have control of your own consciousness, and the world perspective that you decide to have. And this is what will truly transform your life. Bill becomes more happy and fuller, because he decides to see the value of life around him. In his environment, nothing changed to best. He now has a mental illness, and he has only a few days left to live. And yet, Bill manages to be happy by seeing the value of the things in the world. The character discovers that everything is valuable, that the sun is valuable, the stars are valuable, even the rock in his bedroom is valuable, All of these little things that make up every moment are valuable, recognizing that every day is beautiful, or at least that there is an opportunity for every day to be. All of this depending on the perspective and approach one takes from his own reality. This is the main thing of the film and what will stay the most, but the movie presents more messages and reflections apart from this. One that many are likely to overlook is the theme of identity and the dilemma of what forms the soul of the individual. At the beginning of the film, there's a scene in which Bill has the understanding that behind people's appearances, there is a soul in each body. And then you have this question of whether the soul keeps the memory of individuals, even after death. And by extension, whether the soul contains more of what even the individuals know. Concluding that people behind their bodies and material organs are something more than that, which is related to Bill and his illness. At the end of the film, Bill is in a retirement home, about to see his father, who has made a great harm to him in his childhood after leaving his mother. However, by that point, Bill no longer remembers anything. He does not remember why he is there, who he will see, and not even who he is. That's when he sees his father, clearly without recognizing him, and apparently without him recognizing his son as well. But even though he has completely lost his memory, there is a remote part of Bill that makes him feel the need to forgive his father even without recognizing him. And his father, without recognizing his son, cries at his words, thus connecting with the theme of the soul and everything that it could keep without the person being able to express it by biological and psychological borders, finally giving a message about the great hidden potential that the soul has, and therefore, the great potential that every human being has. But talking about the scene of Bill's father, the film is also about family ties, about how these affect and shape the individual, but also about how the past affects people in general. Bill also lives a life of misery by holding a certain inner grudge towards his father, which is not emphasized most of the time, but when the scene of his encounter with him is shown, it is revealed to be a key piece in resolving his conflict, thus showing a very beautiful message about how one should learn to let go and forgive the past in order to move on. The last message in the film that I would like to emphasize is the one of the value and necessity of death, being also another piece, so Bill can give meaning to his life. As I have already mentioned, death is largely what motivates us to act and make more use of life, but it is also what keeps things from losing their value. In the last scene of the film, Bill is ready to die, has forgiven his past, and has gained a perspective of life that allows him to see its value. But then, he clings to life and fears death, at which point he has a final reflection. He imagines a life in which he doesn't die, in which he obtains immortality, and lives knowing everything that can be known, visiting all the places that can be seen, watching people come and go, wars begin and end, until he realizes how his life becomes an infinite loop, where everything happens again and again, and therefore, everything begins to lose its meaning. Bill begins to forget who he used to be, and gets trapped in space for the rest of eternity in a complete, endless void. Reflection that implies the necessity of death, how it serves to give a value to life, because by living forever, everything ends up becoming empty, having the need for things to have a conclusion. So, finally, Bill dies in peace, knowing that his death is necessary and that his life, even if he realized too late, had a great value as well. It's Such a Beautiful Day is a great animated film and one of the best Western animations, if not directly the best. Profound reflections, existential themes, creative direction, a psychological emphasis, and a beautiful and inspiring conclusion above all things. What is the biggest disadvantage for the film to be better though, is precisely that it is focused so much on Bill's mental illness, and that 100% of the time we see the events from his perspective. The last thing makes absolutely no character outside of Bill even characterized, and the first makes Bill not have a great characterization beyond his mental illness and existential conflict. It is justified, but it makes the film unable to reach a higher level. Added to this is the fact that it lacks of a plot. It's all about seeing the course of Bill's illness, and there's no real target that is actively sought. This is justified too. We talk about a person with a mental illness. The only thing that he seeks is to stop suffering. However, this also prevents the film of having a higher level of complexity, which prevents it of reaching its full potential. But even with this, It's Such a Beautiful Day makes up quite well for the lack of characters and plot, with a focus on its messages and philosophical themes, which makes it ultimately worthy of being called a great film. See you next time, people!